Yeah, thank you for joining us, and I will give you the floor. So you can start when you're ready.
Okay, I guess Phil Flores had invited me to talk about the NDAA and what it's going to do, I guess, to
Hi, did anyone call? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm in the meeting.
into law. Actually, it was actually vetoed by
Right.
the president, but then the veto was overridden by the House and the Senate, and so now it became law as of January 1st of this new year. So what that does, basically, there's three things that were included in the NDAA. Uh, of course, the first was uh, the military construction spending for 2021. That was amounted to $662 million earmarked or appropriated for 2021. The other piece of the NDAA had a provision to include the H-2B workers, the exemption that they had in the previous construction projects. So the exemption there was uh, added on to include civilian projects, where in the past that exemption was only afforded to contractors who bring in skilled foreign workers for construction projects or construction related projects. Uh, but the NDAA this year for 2021 had extended that provision to civilian work. So that's good news for a lot of the smaller contractors, as well as those contractors who are, working on local commercial projects, as well as the home builders. So that is going to at least eliminate some of the problems that we've been having with labor shortages there. So we're going to is a provision for some kind of a lab for government of Guam. And so that was included in this year's NDAA for a testing lab, I believe, for the CDC for COVID or something with that regard. So those are the three major points on the NDAA. And at least like I can speak for the construction side, that's going to add another layer of work, I guess, for what we already have. In fact, we already have probably about $1 million of uh, backlogs in construction, which is it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing when you start to, plan things out over the next couple of years. So we know for the next 2 years at least we're pretty stable for the next 2 years with that backlog. And then on top of that, we've got this additional $662 million appropriated for 2021. So I think construction is going to be pretty healthy within the next 3 years, and we hope that that translates to go down into the economy, providing more jobs, more opportunities for small business, suppliers, and everything else that can provide ancillary services to the industry. So I think it's going to be a ripple down effect that I hope would, go throughout the economy. Then, as we see the tourism start to get back, I think that's even more better news for Guam. Right now, they're looking at opening up the tourism market for March, but that's going to depend on a lot of other factors. So we'll see where that starts. But for construction, hello, can you hear?
Hello, dude.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry we lost you for a second there.
I want to know who James's cell phone provider is for future
I'm sorry.
reference.
Sorry, we lost you there on the last section.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I was talking about the economy and how the 2021 NDAA approval would help the economy. Like I said, for construction, it's going to put some more additional projects for military construction, but also is going to open up the H-2B program by allowing foreign workers with the exemption from the temporary need provision. So that is going to open up the importation of additional foreign skilled workers for not just the military projects, but also for civilian projects, most notably for the commercial projects that we see ongoing now, and also for some of the housing projects that have been actually been put on hold because of lack of workforce to either start or complete those projects. So at least for construction, the next 3 years is going to be quite promising and quite solid. And we hope that that trickles down to the rest of the economy by providing additional jobs for local workers here, but also for small business companies and suppliers to do more business with the military and get that sector going.
Yeah, I have a question real quick.
Yes.
I know for construction, we seem to rely so heavy on foreign workers, and here we are sitting at like 20,000 people unemployed. What is it that about construction jobs that are not attracting the local workforce or local
Well, a lot
workers?
of jobs that we currently bring in the foreign labor for are what we call the sunshine jobs. These are the jobs that are done in the hot sun. These are your masonry, your rough carpentry, your form carpenters, and your structural steel workers. These are the jobs that are in the field, hot sun, no shade. So those are the positions that are vastly needed right now, especially when we begin the construction process, and that's where most of the foreign workers are brought in for. Most of the local workers would prefer those jobs for electrical, HVAC, where they work, pretty much in a finished building, and they're just now installing electrical work or HVAC systems, air conditioners, and the like. So those jobs are, pretty much taken care of with the local market. But it's those hot jobs, those sunshine jobs, that are very hard to fill. But those are the types of jobs that are currently being brought in or currently being utilized for H-2B foreign workers. Yes, there are some people that, especially in the tourism industry, that have been laid off for work. And some of them could eventually get into construction with a little training. But even at that, it takes a special type of person, a special training to get into construction. You can't just get a warm body to fill that position. They got to have to want to do that job and be able to work that job. And it's going to take some training as well to reskill them and to retool them to do that kind of job. But when you look at it also, once the tourism comes back, we don't want to cannibalize an entire industry by taking all the workers, training them and keeping them in construction. And then tourism industry has to start over with recruiting and building up a new cadre of employees. But not everybody's cut out for construction, just like not everybody's cut out for tourism. And so those that are interested in construction and really want to make that a career choice, then of course we'll welcome them and put them to training either at our GSA Trades Academy or over at the Guam Community College. But as opportunities are there, it just has to be a right fit. And we're not, like I said, we're just not going to take warm bodies and throw them into a position, whether they like it or not, just because they need a job. They got to have to want the job and are interested.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other questions? Anybody have questions?
Yeah, so this new allowance for H-2 workers is based on this National Defense Authorization Act, which I assume is for 1 year. How does this affect our long-term and the battle? And I know GCA has been involved in a lawsuit against the Department of Labor, I think, who's the one that changed the valuation. So does this affect it? Is this just a short stopgap measure for the next year, maybe the next 2-3 years?
Yeah, this is now. Yeah, you got to realize that the NDAA is only temporary. They have an NDAA law passed every year to allocate funds for military construction, and this provision for the H-2B exemption was put in the last probably 2 or 3 years, and this new one now affords that to the civilian projects. But that's a stopgap measure. We still need a more permanent fix to this. In fact, the government came back to dismiss the case because their contention is, well, now that the NDAA is passed, they no longer need the lawsuit because they're going to go with the NDAA. But that's not necessarily true, because that's only like a temporary move. So we need something more permanent, and that's something that we're continuing to work on to make it more easier and acceptable to bring in foreign skilled workers, rather than what we were used to back in the day with the sudden decline of H-2B applications through U.S. Department of Labor or EIS.
I'm not sure if you said it earlier. Was there a limit on how many foreign workers are allowed to come to Guam?
I believe the limit was still at 4,000, but I'm not sure if that still held. I think it's still at 4,000.
And that 4,000, that can be private or military, or just military?
Well, right now
Or-
that's just for military. So I'm trying to find out if there's a language in there that sets a limit for civilian. But as far as I know, with the past NDAA, the limit was about 4,000, which we thought was pretty suitable for the amount of work that we're going to do. But now throwing in the civilian work, that might be up to a little higher number. But I need to search that and see if there's a provision there that would have additional slots for civilian construction work for the foreign workers.
Are there 4,000 at this time already, James? Do you know? I mean, do we have 4,000?
No, we got less than that. There's only about 1,300 total H-2B workers right now on island.
Right.
So we're far short of the 4,000.
But of course, it's hard to invest bringing a couple thousand workers over here if a year from now they may need to leave.
That's correct. Yeah. Right now, I know that there's probably in the hopper. There's probably about application for 2,000 more foreign skilled workers, but those have not been approved yet, I don't believe. But I know that those are applications that are still pending. So we can expect another 2,000 H-2B workers within the next 6 months or so.
But James,
Is there
go
Go ahead, sorry, sir. Go ahead,
Yes.
Phil.
of those 2,000 are expected next 6 months, are those for behind the fence? Primarily
Those are mostly for construction, yes.
behind the fence.
For behind, yeah, yes, military.
So that would leave like 700 if we're limited at 4, and we already have 700, and we have those. I mean, 1,300. We have those. We only leave about 700 spaces.
Yeah.
Still available.
Yeah, but that's something I need to check on, is whether that cap is was also lifted. So it could be unlimited, but I know that in the previous NDAA it was capped at 4,000, but that was just for the military construction work.
All right.
So that could change. I just need to find language in there that would show either a cap or they remove that cap of 4,000 altogether.
Okay, so everybody's still learning what was in the law and what does it mean. So if I'm a contractor and I need H-2s for outside the gate, what do I do right now?
You just submit your application to Greg Massey over Department of Labor, and so that you got to go through the process. I think for military they're still a little more strict than before, and even civilian they're a little more strict. But I think the approval would be back up to our normal, 100% or close to that. Uh, where the only reason why a lot of our local contractors don't apply or petition for foreign workers for anything outside of military construction is that they're afraid to be declined or to get disapproved to bring in those workers and to invest all that money just to file that application. So that was one of the reasons why a lot of local contractors. So the local civilian work has really not been tested yet. Only the construction for military, and so as we can see, those have been approved at a rate of 100%. So we're okay with military. It's just now the civilian that really hasn't been tested yet. But with the NDAA, I think that's going to change. That'll give more confidence for a lot of our smaller contractors, especially those with outside defense work, to get more confidence to go ahead and file those petitions without being afraid of being declined or denied of the H-2B workers.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Does media, do you guys have any questions? I have another one. Is there any language saying what countries these H-2B visas are for? Reason why I ask is my neighbors next to me, their house is being rented out by Hensel Phelps, and they're rotating in and out every 3 to 4 months. Guys from they're from Central America, Nicaragua, and areas like that. Are those guys under an H-2B visa, or how does that work? These every 3 to
yes,
4
other
months.
countries are right. Yeah, Guam historically has been using foreign workers from the Philippines, and as you know, the Philippines was removed from the approved list of countries to bring in foreign H-2B workers. That was in the past. The NDAA, even with that exemption, also allows contractors from Guam specifically to bring in their foreign workers from the Philippines. So the NDAA also provides that exemption as well, other than just the exemption from the from that requirement for temporary need. So they can still bring in workers from the Philippines. If you were going on a regular H-2B process without the NDAA, then the Philippines would be banned or would be not allowed. You won't be allowed to get workers from the Philippines. And so that's why some of these companies have sought out foreign workers from other countries that are already approved, like South America, including Nicaragua, like you mentioned, and Mexico, and some other countries. So currently the Philippines is removed from that list, but the NDAA provides that exemption for Guam contractors to use the H-2B program or to utilize the foreign workers from the Philippines. So that's another positive note on the NDAA.
We had a question. PNC has a question real quick. His mic's
Sure.
not working, but he's asking, is a Guam contractor's H-2B lawsuit still proceeding, or has it been withdrawn because it is mute due to NDAA?
No, the government wants it to be mute. In fact, they suggested they dismissed it. The judge dismisses the case. They haven't filed that formal dismissal. So the case is still ongoing, and we'll see what their next move is going to be. But this become very expensive. So we've got to see what the government's going to come up with a dismissal, and we're going to go ahead and go for summary judgment and have District Court Judge Tedinko Gatewood make that decision based on evidence and everything else that she has received in the case up to now. But we understand that the government wants to go ahead and dismiss the case altogether, citing the NDAA. But you got to remember now, the NDAA happen this year, but then things could change for next year's NDAA. It may not be extended for next year. So we're going to wait and see what the government's going to come up with before we respond to that. So right now the litigation is still ongoing, and we're looking at doing a summary judgment and having the district court judge, Tydinko Gatewood, make that determination, for summary judgment.
Thanks a lot. Any other questions? Opening up the floor. Cool. I guess that's it. So it looks like, as you're saying in the beginning, there's years of construction just waiting in the pipeline just for workers. Is that what we're looking at? Houses, like contractors have a couple houses down the road, but they don't have workers for it, and government projects are on hold because they don't have workers to pave roads or anything like that. Is that what we're gonna see once there's H-2B visas more approved? We're gonna see just a big boom in construction. Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, there's that's going to ease the labor shortage a little bit for commercial civilian, and the housing developments outside the military base. So that's going to really help a lot of our contractors, especially our smaller contractors who don't necessarily have a military project, but do commercial work, renovations, extensions, housing, and smaller type commercial work. So that's going to ease some of that labor shortage there. But we're still looking at training and hiring and training a local workforce for some of those projects. But there's going to be quite a bit of them that, the population is not going to be big enough to support that workforce. So we've got to bring in the supplemental workforce from wherever, Philippines, Mexico, or other countries to supplement our local workforce. But we're still looking at hiring and recruiting a local workforce, because in the long run, once the dust settles with the military buildup, you're going to see some construction work that's going to continue, and would need more local construction workers to do those jobs as well. So we're still continuing to hire and train local workforce in our industry.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say? Our guest speaker is there in his car waiting.
I got aircon, so it's good.
Parked outside your office. Yeah, if nobody else have any questions, we can wrap it up. Let them go inside the restaurant he's parked in front of to go eat.
Bill, is there any
Yeah.
procedure already developed that for local companies to start processing?
I'm sorry, Carl, you broke up. I didn't hear your question.
I said, is there any already established process for outside the gate local companies to start processing?
Oh yes, the process has always been there. It's basically the same process, but now that exemption really helps the approval for these petitions. So with the NDAA now in effect, you can be almost guaranteed 100% approval for your petition, whereas before it was still questionable. And like I mentioned, a lot of the contractors, especially the smaller contractors, were hesitant to file petitions to bring in those type of workers, because it's a huge investment to do that, and a lot of these smaller contractors would have to put up their own personal property and even their houses to begin that process. But now with the NDAA, that's going to give them some comfort level and some confidence to go ahead and apply to petition for H-2B workers, because now the NDAA would grant them that exemption. And like I mentioned, you're almost guaranteed 100% approval on that petition. And it's already, that approval rating is already proven for the, at least for the military side right now. But now that it's in the NDAA, that's going to help a lot of the smaller contractors working on outside defense type work.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Jim, in the past, we used to have construction workers from the Korea. Is that still, do we still have that labor source from Korea?
Oh, yeah, the labor source in Korea is still there. However, the labor rates for the labor, the cost is actually more than some of the other countries. So I'm not going to say how much more, but probably almost looking double the prevailing wage rate here for here on Guam that they would charge to bring in a worker from Korea, just like bring in a U.S. worker from Hawaii, for instance. You can bring home, of course you can because they're U.S. citizens, but to pay for that labor to come to Guam, pay for their housing, and pay the rate to keep them here on Guam is almost 3 times the cost to pay for an HCB worker coming from Philippines or Mexico or other countries. So it's a cost thing, but yeah, that resource is there. You can certainly avail of that foreign workforce from Korea as well as Taiwan. So I think the other one that's not approved was China.
Hey, how are the Mexican group working out?
I
James, we don't hear you.
Group yet, but I know they're still out here. I think there's about 4 or 5 those workers from Mexico that are out here.
We missed except for the last 10 seconds, we missed your answer. We missed your answer on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's probably about 4 or 5. There's probably about 4 or 5 foreign workers from Mexico that are currently on the island. I have not heard about how well they're doing.
At one time, wasn't there a bunch of them? Completely cut off there, James.
Well, for me, I think if there's only 5 of them, I think 3 of them were my neighbors and they just moved out. My neighbors used to be up until about a week ago from Central America. So I don't know how big of a group that was when they came in. But I think he's out. I think his phone finally died. Bummer. Yeah. We'll send him an email saying thank you for helping us out. But if he's not able to connect again, then I think we'll just call it. I don't see him on the chat anymore. Let me check one last time. One last call. Yeah, I think he's out. His network finally gave up on him. So in any case, yeah, that's our meeting for today. But I know that I don't know what P core number or core score, cat core, whatever number we're on, according to the governor or government. But all I know is dining is open, and I have been in contact with a locations where we can finally meet in person. So I'll keep you updated once I'm able to get confirmation that we can find a place that can fit at least 30 people for our meeting and still not get us all fined or arrested.
I understand that we're going to be able to go to 50% dining in. It'll be announced this weekend.
Nice. Yeah. So working with one of our favorite spots to let us back in there so we can have a meeting. To let you know, once I find out that date, we won't have a guest speakers. I think we should just do a fellowship meeting where we just meet up after work, open bar and poo-poos, and just do a fellowship. Just get reacquainted with one another again. See who gained the most weight in lockdown, something like that. So it'll be a non-speaker meeting, just a fellowship meeting once I get confirmation that we're allowed to meet up in person. So that's on its way. So hopefully this may be our last Zoom meeting for a while, or we may have one more left until we're able to do this. So I'll let you know. Other than that, happy birthday.
I missed a lot of this, but
yes.
Has Alvin explained his trip to Santorini? That's really a great photo, Alvin.
Yeah, and in 1 year, we went to Santorini and also Mykonos. Those are Greek islands in the south.
Yeah.
It was quite a
in the
good
Mediterranean.
experience.
Yeah, it sure is. And Jake, is that train going to get pull into the station before the meeting's over?
You're muted.
Turn your
Jake.
mic on.
Keep your eye on the important things, Carl.
Which is the
He
girl on the bike.
is.
The girl on the bike is what the picture's about, not the train.
Well, I know, but if the train pulls in, she turns around and looks at us.
No, that's just a still picture. You have to go up to Japan for the real thing. Come on.
Yeah,
No
talking
free
about
lunches.
Japan. President Phil, is the Karuizawa Student Exchange Program for this year still up in the air, or is pretty much gonna be canceled?
It looks like it's gonna be
We'll have to
canceled.
celebrate our 50th anniversary with them.
Well, yeah, looks like we'll be 2 years past that, but yeah, they wanted to try something again in November, which is like 3 months ago, and they couldn't get it all together. It looks like it's gonna be canceled for another year. So this would be the 2 years we're not gonna be able to do it.
I see.
Japan is still on lockdown. I think they're not letting any foreigners in.
Yeah,
So
it's even more
yeah.
secure today than it was recently.
yeah, so it probably it looks like it got worse over there. So for now, it's canceled, and I guess we wait until next year to try it out again.
Yeah, they are
Okay,
trying
great.
hard to get ready for the Olympic Games, that they really want to make it happen. And also why the cases have sharp rise is because a lot of people were doing those New Year parties before the year and also after the New Year.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. I know a few weeks ago or middle of December, early December, I was able to attend the Tachikawa Club meeting, and that's a big club, and it looks like 80% of their members show up in person for the meeting, and just only a handful actually do online or through Zoom. But as of December, early December, they're still meeting in person. All 90 members, it seems like it. I'm not sure they're still doing that, but yeah, as for now, because I was done for the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. If anything else, I'll keep you guys informed. And if anything else, Happy New Year, and we'll see you all next week. Happy birthday, past President Vicky.
Happy New Year.
Thank
Happy
you.
New Year and happy birthday, Vicky.
Thank
See you
you.
all later. Bye.
See you.
Thanks for
Bye,
attending.
everybody.
好了，明年经济会好了。